Once in a Lifetime, Chapter 6. It had been an hour since the stranger dropped off my passport, and I was still thinking about her. My curiosity got the better of me, and I wanted to know more about Judith Guthrie, Guthrie Starks. Before I turned on my computer to Google her, I decided to check the telephone book first. She was listed. Without giving it much thought, I dialed her number. The telephone rang 6 times before she answered. Hello, may I speak with Judith? I began using the gentlest tone I could manage, especially because of the harsh way I first greeted her this morning. This is she. Who's calling? This is Vanessa Hayes. I'm sorry to bother you at home, but I just wanted to thank you again for bringing my passport today. It was not a big deal. I was glad to do it, she replied. At least now you won't have to wonder what happened to it. I really enjoyed talking to you. I would still like to treat you to a coffee break or buy you lunch. I could definitely use a break, Judith said. She sounded tired, so I didn't want to keep her on the phone too long. However, I was eager to get together with her in person. I like to hear more about London. It's one of the places I plan to visit someday. Despite the dreary weather, it's a lovely town. I'm sure you'll love it. She didn't sound so tired now. I got tons of stories to share about London. When would you like to meet up? How about later today if you're not too busy? I can come now. I got your address out of the phone book. Even though it's kind of nasty outside, I'd love to get out of my apartment for a little while. I know all the nice cafes in town, somewhere in your neighborhood. In your... I suddenly felt guilty about turning down Madeline's invitation to go shopping, and almost changed my mind about visiting Judith. But I was so curious about her, I had to go through with it. If you don't mind, it would be better if you came to my place. I'll explain why when you arrive. I still have a couple of errands to run. Can you come in an hour or so? The security code you'll need to press to get into the building is 044. I'll see you then. To kill time, I went to the car wash, got some gas, and did a little window shopping at the strip mall along the way. It was nice to see all the businesses gearing up for Thanksgiving, which was my second favorite holiday next to Christmas. The furniture outlet at the corner had placed a table outside in front of the entrance. There was a scarecrow sharing it with a huge turkey pinata. The liquor store next door to it had real bales of hay piled up near their front door. Shortly after I left the mall, I parked in front of Judith's three-story limestone building. It was on a wide street with an island in the middle, lined with palm trees and exotic plants I've never seen before. South City, Bay City was a small town located about 25 miles from San Jose. Judith's residence was located in an upscale area with a lot of old Victorian houses and well-kept apartment buildings. She was standing in her doorway when I got off the elevator and still had on the same outfit she worn to my apartment. I made brownies, so I hope you're not dying, she said with a grin. I am, but I cheat once in a while, I confessed. I was impressed when I entered her spacious living room. My apartment seemed so basic and ordinary compared to hers. Even though I kept everything neat and clean, almost everything I owned had come from IKEA and other discount stores, including the blue velvet couch I picked up at Goodwill. I had a few fake plants, a slightly scarred coffee table with mismatched end tables, a medium-sized TV, and a lopsided four-shelf bookcase with my books in no particular order. Judith's place looked like a display room in a trendy furniture store. A brown leather love seat was a matching couch sat next to a huge flat screen TV on a bronze metal stand. African artwork dominated every wall, along with framed pictures, including one of her sharing a table with Mick Jagger with his arm around her shoulder. That photo was taken in London 20 years ago. Michael recalled Mick by his real name, used to visit a pub near my uncle's place, and he was always eager to connect with his fans in public. She took my umbrella and jacket and umbrella, waved me to the couch, and then she plopped down on the love seat across from me. I changed a lot since then. So has Mick, I pointed out. Touche, Judith agreed. I exhaled and looked around the room. You have a nice place, Judith. You've decorated it beautifully. She beamed as she told me her husband was the one who had decorated their apartment. I was intrigued when I heard that his parents were missionaries who traveled all over Africa and Asia. They send relics and other knickknacks to us all the time. She beamed even more when she revealed that her husband was a career Marine. He's only home a few weeks at a time. Then he gets deployed for several more months. He just left last month, so I won't see him again until May. Our son Paul is studying at Harvard. He was born on our first wedding anniversary. Are you married? I cleared my throat and answered in a low tone. Not yet. With a heavy sigh and a chuckle, I added, I haven't had much luck in the romance department. Well, despite what we hear and read, there are a lot of nice men out there. She excused herself and left the room to go get the coffee and brownies. While she was gone, a young light skinned man walked into wearing a blue bathrobe and slippers shuffled into the living room. He stopped in the middle of the floor and stared at me with his eyes squinted. He was of medium height and weight, and even with dark circles around his glassy eyes, chapped lips, and his thick black hair of school, I could see that he was quite handsome. You must be Vanessa Hayes, he said in a raspy tone of voice. I stood up and extended my hand to shake his. He had big, strong looking hands, but it felt like I was shaking a wet noodle. Yes, the mailman accidentally left my passport in Judith's mailbox. She was kind enough to deliver it to me this morning. I offered to take her to lunch, but she wanted me to come here instead. She told me, he said, breathing through his mouth. Each breath made a rattling sound. Immediately after he started coughing, Judith returned with a tray and stopped in her tracks as soon as she saw him. Donald, what are you doing out of bed? She gently asked. Dr. Thomas said you should stay off your feet as much as possible. I just wanted to stretch my legs, he replied in a whiny tone. Vanessa, this is my brother Ronald, Judith introduced. He's been staying with me for a while. Let's get you back to bed. She set the tray on the oval shaped smoked glass coffee table, grabbed her brother's hand, and led him back out of the room. I poured myself a cup of coffee and started munching on one of the brownies. Judith returned 5 minutes later and sat back down on the love seat. I'm sorry, Vanessa. It's been a very trying time for me lately. I understand. Is your brother very sick? Instead of answering right away, she stood back up and started shaking her head and wringing her hands. Before I realized what was happening, she burst into tears and stumbled over to the couch. She muttered some gibberish, Her legs buckled and she fell sideways onto the couch. I was flabbergasted to say the least. When I helped her sit up, I put my arms around her and rubbed her back. It's okay, Judith. Go ahead and let it out. She abruptly stopped crying after about a minute and scooted a few inches away. In a hoarse whisper, she told me, I don't expect him to be around much longer. Like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Bye.